Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Marcus Aurelius, and this is Mountain Blade Warband, Anno 1257. And if you are astute enough to look below at the date, you will find that it is November the 29th, 1258. It is more than 6 months after my last episode, I believe, and in that time I have done quite a bit. I am now sieging the city of Constantinople, which, through various skirmishes, I have brought down to about 50 people guarding it. I am once again the marshal of the Roman Empire of Nicaea. And you can see the Latin lords here. They are milling about, and they are unable to stop the eventual fall of their capital. An awful lot has happened in the past 6 months, so let me narrate to you what all has gone on. Let me back out a bit here. So, when we last left, I was no longer marshal, and we were fighting the Latins, but otherwise, we were at peace. Well, I became marshal yet again, and a few things happened that changed the course of everything. First of all, Aleppo fell. It fell to the Ilkhanate, I believe, and they fought against us, but we were able to peace out of that war without any further losses. At that point, after having fought against a powerful foe, I decided that it would be wise, especially since the marshalship was given back to me, to be smart about who I was conquering. At that time, the Ilkhanate had all of Anatolia, mostly. It had Janina down there in Greece. It had Sredets up here, and they were making great inroads. And at the time, they were at war with Serbia, who I was at peace with and had never had problems with at all. But Serbia was down to 2 lands. They were down to Sredets and Kotor. So I decided that in order to grow the power of the empire, we needed to pick off the low-hanging fruit, unfortunately. So I spoke with Emperor Lascaris, and I said, let's go to war against Serbia. And he asked, why on earth would we do that? And I said, well, A, Serbia is really, really weak, and B, Serbia is currently fighting off other wars, so they won't be able to stop us. Now, because the emperor was a good friend of mine, he said, all right, let's do it. So I conquered Kotor, and it was awarded to me. So I had a city in place of Aleppo, and then I decided that we wanted to get Larissa back from the Hungarians, who at the time were at war with the Polish and the Golden Horde. So I had the emperor declare war on them as well. At this point, Serbia was gone, because by us taking Kotor and by the Ilkhanate taking Sredets, they were effectively wiped out. So we quickly, without any struggle at all, captured Larissa, and then I moved the army up to, where is it here? Verbashna, and took Verbashna. What followed there, however, was a bit of a fiasco. The Latins were able to conquer Larissa, despite being reduced to only 1 city. They were incredibly powerful. They can easily summon up 500 men out of nowhere, and they were able to take Larissa because I left it with no garrison. The problem with this situation, I'm not going to say this mod, but if you conquer a territory, there is absolutely nothing good to come out of leaving troops in the garrison until it's awarded. Because even, and the game mod lies to you in this respect, it says any troops you put in the garrison may be lost if it's not awarded to you. Well, it's lost regardless. Even if it's awarded to you, those people are gone. The control of the garrison reverts to the people. And that's another thing worth noting, is when you take control of the garrison from the people of the city, they lose 10 respect for you, which is very hard to build up, and that impacts how much money the city makes and whether you can recruit troops and a number of other things. So let's say you were to conquer a city, take control of the garrison, put your own troops in it, then you would be -10 with the city. Then, let's say later the city is awarded to you, you lose those troops, then you have to take control of the garrison again, lose another 10, so you've lost troops and 20 reputation, basically, with the city. So what I've been doing moving forward is leaving cities ungarrisoned until they're awarded to whomever. And the problem with that, of course, is that if you are distracted and have to go somewhere else, that city can fall very easily to simply a small army with 50 men. But that's the way it goes. So we took back Larissa, we took Verbosna, but the thing is we had to keep running back and forth between them. The Latins kept sieging Larissa, the Hungarians Verbosna, and it just was a big pain in the butt. And then I made a huge mistake. Verbosna was reconquered by the Hungarians, and then the Polish came and laid siege to it as I was on my way up. And I was pissed. I was like, you know what? I need to conquer this. So I just attacked the Polish guy, killed him and all his men, and then conquered the castle. The problem there is that the Polish hated me at that point, so I had to pay 400 ducats to get them on my side. And that was fine, and I thought the situation was over. But it wasn't, because the Polish then declared war on the empire as a whole, and they proceeded to just go crazy on us. And we lost Larissa again, we lost Verbosna, they sieged Kotor. It was a mess. But finally, we were able to wear them down to such a point that we got Larissa back, and by this point the marshalship was taken from me yet again. The marshal came up here and conquered Szeged, a city which has stayed with us all this time, so that's pretty awesome. So at this point, we had lost Verbosna for good, although the Hungarians eventually conquered it from the Polish, it looks like, and they also managed to conquer Stradets from the Ilkhanate. But we had Szeged, and we had Kotor. And the large cities are kind of the best things to have, so that's really good. We were able to take Christopolis back. I forget who had it. I think it was the Ilkhanate. So then let's go on to the next stage. So the next stage, I was having a good time conquering the little apples, low-hanging fruit, the people who were already in 3 other wars and weren't very strong. But I noticed that the Ilkhanate was getting ridiculously strong. They had basically wiped out the entire Crusader states. They had Acre, Jerusalem, they had Tripoli, Antioch, Safed, Damascus, and Aleppo. And they were currently at war with the Mamluks. They also were at war with Venice, or Sicily, one of those two, I forget which. And then finally, the Golden Horde declared war on them. So I thought, okay, these guys are ridiculously strong, but they must be worn out at this point. So I convinced the emperor to declare war on them again. Now at the time I wasn't the marshal, so I got as many lords as I could to follow me, and I conquered the castle of Armagnac. I asked for it to be given to me. The emperor said, no, you have too many possessions, which is fine, that's okay. So that war continued on for a while, and I was given the marshalship yet again, and I led the troops and conquered Iconium and Ankara. And at that point, they peaced out. They were tired, and they were fighting the Mamluks, and they are still fighting to this day. The Golden Horde in Sicily made peace with them. So as you can see, the Middle East is kind of a mess between the Mamluks, who at this precise moment, based on our intervention, are really getting the better of the Ilkhanate, and the Ilkhanate, of course. So then, finally, moving more toward the present, I just got sick and tired of the Latins. They kept besieging Iconium, they kept besieging Ankara. We are, of course, at peace with the Ilkhanate right now. And they actually managed to get Ankara, which was my personal fief. So at one point, I had Sardis Castle, Sardis, Kotor, and Ankara. So I led the siege against Constantinople to finally wipe these guys out, because I knew that even if they were down to one city, for some reason they magically were able to field huge armies at all times to threaten whatever it was we had. While doing that, they took Ankara from me. So I'm eager to get that back, but I'm in a good position because I lost Ankara. I've given up Kotor. I spoke to the emperor and said, hey man, take Kotor from me. I don't want it anymore. And there's reasons for that. One, I want to be given Constantinople, which is the main reason. But two, Kotor didn't do much for me. It wasn't making me any money. It didn't allow me anything new in terms of companions. And that's something else I may not have mentioned. I have 3 companions that I've had for a long time. But you can also get 3 companions from every religious group. So 3 Muslim companions, 3 Orthodox, 3 pagan, I guess, and 3 Catholic. Well, Kotor is considered Orthodox, not Catholic, so it's worth nothing to me. Now, Ankara, on the other hand, got me 3 whole new companions. Bashar, Adil, and Damura. So What I would like is a castle or a village or whatever here in the Catholic area so that I can get those 3 Catholic companions and maybe, again a castle or something. I don't even know where the pagans are. I guess the Golden Horde? I thought maybe they were Islamic, but they might be pagan. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure Novgorod and Rusa are Orthodox. So maybe it's just around Lithuania? I'm not sure. But if nothing else, I want Catholic companions. So it's not that important that I hold Ankara anymore, even though I'm going to ask for it again, I think, because I have the companions already, and KOTOR was definitely not part of my plan. So now I am substantially weaker than the other lords of the empire, and hopefully will be granted Constantinople when it falls. Which, by the way, will happen in the next episode, because this episode is just me catching you up on the history and what's going on. So I become a much more successful strategos general, and once we're able to wipe out the Latins, that will pretty much be what I originally set out to be the end of this LP. But I am having a lot of fun with this game, so by all means, mention in the comments what you think and what you would like to see. But I've also considered extending it till I'm able to reconquer Anatolia from the Ilkhanate, and of course Janina and Castoria. Maybe stopping at, I don't necessarily need Antioch or Aleppo, but maybe I could take both of them. That would be fine, and then that would be it. I wouldn't necessarily go after further south, although taking Cyprus back, which is a historical possession of the empire, is a possibility. Next, I may decide to war against the Bulgarians, or even against Venice to get Crete back. And then that would be a good ending point for the campaign, because the empire would really get back to where it's most known for. So that's the areas of Greece, Macedonia, Thrace, Anatolia, and Crete. So that's an idea, but obviously please let me know in the comments what you think. My immediate goal is to conquer Constantinople, of course, and then to reconquer Ankara, and I'll ask for both of them, but really if I only get Constantinople, that's perfectly fine with me. I think it'd probably take a castle, maybe Amasia or Erzincan. That would be fine. Castles are better, in my opinion, than cities because they all like you. A city, like I said, if you take control of the garrison, likes you -10, and it takes a lot of time and money to raise your relationship with them. Now, of course, a city has a tavern, which means access to prostitutes and ransom brokers and other type things that are very valuable to have, but castles are also easier to defend on the tactical map, typically, than cities. So there's benefits to them all. Plus, a castle is considered less of a fief, so they might be able to be willing to give me more of them. They have just randomly offered to give me villages. I've declined them all simply because I don't want any. However, if they offer me one, let's say in the Catholic areas, I'll take it simply so I can recruit companions. But villages are tough because you can't defend them. They get raided, which is a kind of a good thing. You can't lose them, but they get raided, which means they're worthless, and it's just really tough. Now, in KOTOR, I had a manor. The manor of KOTOR. I invested quite a lot of money in it. It is now gone, of course. But I don't know if it is or not. I'm a little worried about that because I want Constantinople's manor, but it already has a manor. So I'm not sure if I just take over the pre-existing manor or if that manor is just destroyed and I have to build a new one, or if I still have the KOTOR manor, regardless, because I've seen situations where the city is owned by one faction but the manor is owned by the other. So I'm not really sure how that works, but I sincerely hope that I lost my manor at KOTOR and can build or appropriate the one at Constantinople. And that's, of course, assuming the emperor will even give me Constantinople, but I believe that he would. I mean, I don't see any reason why he wouldn't, considering I'm reduced now to just a castle. But let's talk a little bit about the historical capture of Constantinople. Now, it is November 29th, 1258. Well, in real life, Constantinople was reconquered for the Roman Empire of Nicaea, which then, of course, became the Byzantine Empire again in 1261. It was conquered by, well, at the time, Michael VIII Palaiologos was the emperor, but it was conquered actually by a general by the name of Alexios Strategopoulos, who was a very interesting character. He was actually, at this time, in 1258, imprisoned by Emperor Lascaris for one reason or another, probably some internal power squabble. But he was released when Lascaris died by Michael VIII, along with a bunch of other nobles. And so he fought on behalf of Michael VIII. He first fought against the despotate of Epirus, which in this mod is part of the Roman Empire of Nicaea, but which in real life was a separate political entity and who fought against the Roman Empire of Nicaea. So he was captured by the Epirotes, but subsequently released after not too much time, and then he led the attack on Constantinople. And historically, this was very interesting because that was not the purpose of his trip. The purpose of his trip was just to ride around, scout out the Bulgarians, just get an idea for what was going on. But he heard through rumors that the entire army of the Latin Empire was off on campaign raiding islands belonging to the Roman Empire of Nicaea. And he thought, well, that may be true, but there's no way with only 800 men I'm going to siege the city. But he got closer, stayed in a farmhouse and learned more of the situation and decided, you know what, let's try to make this happen. So some of his men snuck in through a secret passage into the city and opened a gate in the walls known as the Gate of Spring, which let his men in, and they started taking the walls from the inside. Now again, only 800 men, which frankly we're attacking right now with more than a very small amount. And the emperor, the Latin emperor, as soon as he found out about this, he immediately fled. Strategopoulos did manage to burn the Venetian quarter and many of the ships, but a fleet from Venice did arrive in time to get most of the Latin nobles out and deposit them in other places in Greece. However, at that point, the city had fallen, and from then on would always belong to the Romans and not to the Latins. It remained in Roman hands, of course, until its fall to the Ottoman Turks. So, anyways, after this conquest, Strategopoulos was honored with a triumph, and he then led another army against the Epirotes over here, and unfortunately he was captured yet again, and this time they sold him to someone, a lord or whatnot, in Italy, and he spent many years in Italy, and eventually was ransomed back in a prisoner transfer. And at that point, he had had enough. He was an old man by this point, and he had retired. And that's really the last we hear of him. But still, he was the general who captured Constantinople, not Michael VIII, though Michael VIII was the emperor at the time. And just like Michael VIII, Alexios Strategopoulos is in this game. Let's see here. Maybe he has a title or something here. I know he exists. Let's see. Roman Empire of Nicaea. Here we go. Strategos Alexios Strategopoulos. That is this gentleman here. He is the lord of Italia, Erminac, and Kottaion. He is lord of Erminac because of me. I conquered Erminac, and they didn't give it to me, they gave it to him. He is welcoming towards me, though. He's very happy with me. He has 974 renown and 0 controversy. At this point, he is 49. Looks like he's the son, or his Georgios Agalon is his son, and his wife is Maria Dukaina. So that's him, and it's cool that he is represented in this mod, which I think is really awesome. Let's see, am I in here? I wonder if it's what it has to say about me. Marcus Aurelius, yes. So I have 1601 renown, but 39 controversy, and I'm just at this point the lord of Sardis Castle in Sardis. My father-in-law is Strategos Mikhail Paleologos. Theodora Raulina is my mother-in-law, and Helena, of course, as you all know, is my wife. Hopefully I will have Constantinople added to my fiefs, and apparently I don't have an age. I am ageless, which is fitting for such a glorious figure. Mikhail, the future emperor of the Byzantine Empire, because at the point he became emperor, they had reconquered the city, shortly thereafter. He is simply at this point the lord of Chonai and Chonai village, which I don't know why, because he became the lord of Iconium when I conquered Iconium. Maybe it fell and they had to give it to somebody else. I'm not entirely sure. But so, actually he doesn't have very much either. Although Chonai is a city, so who else is he related to? Janos Dukas is his brother. Georgios Irenikos, both these guys are marshals at one time or another. They're both his brothers. I never knew that. I'm not sure if that's true in real life. And I'm his son-in-law. And he has some sisters-in-laws. Okay, neat. But let's see here. I want to see who was given Iconium. So let's see. It's got to be here somewhere, right? Iconium. It belongs to, they gave it to Ioannis Doukas, who owns a lot. Iconium, Sozopolis, Christopolis, and Heraclea. So he's a pretty powerful dude. And then there's Irenikos, who owns Patras, which is a city, Myra, which is a castle, and Karamon, which also is a castle, I think. I don't think he owns any villages. There's another Doukas, though. Is it Michael II? Yeah, the Despot of Epirus. Now, obviously, he was hostile to the empire in real life, as he had his own little country, but he's the lord of Thessalonica, Chonad, and Gallipoli. Gallipoli, that's interesting. That's right there by Constantinople. So there you have it. That is the story as it is thus far. So in the next episode, we are actually going to lead the assault against Constantinople, take the city, and hopefully it will be granted to me as my personal fief. So once again, I am Marcus Aurelius. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good one.